Stall or Turtle the Tin King, and you're watching To Every Planet. This is episode 2, where we go to Minmus, the second moon of Kerbin. It's slightly smaller than the moon, which in the last episode, if you haven't seen it, that's where we go. Highly recommend that video. So this is just me designing my landing stage, so this is what's going to actually land on the surface of Minmus. And so we're going to take 3 guys up in the capsule, just making sure I add couplers, SES, all the basics. It's just a simple, like, you know, it's just standard landing design. Power, SES, docking capabilities, because we will actually dock with my space station. I recorded this about a month ago, so I'm actually having a bit of trouble remembering what happens, but I haven't had much time really. But I've got a week off school, so I'm going to be making probably another 3 episodes this week. Now adding solar panels, so we don't run out of electricity like we did in the last episode around the moon, which was quite bad. Yeah, need landing legs, those are important, so may as well add them on. And the reason I do 3 and not 4 is because if you have 3 legs, you always have, you know, the thing is, if with 3 legs, you will always have all of your legs on the ground, no matter what the terrain, so it's just the most stable design for landing. Ladders, because, yeah, you can jump off, but it may as well. Right, RCS, so that we can dock. That comes in quite handy, actually. Also just RCS, just they're not only used for turning, you'll find out, but we actually use them to dock with other vehicles in space, which just makes everything a whole lot easier. Trying to find the good number there, and I end up with 2 on the sides. If you see the yellow and black sphere there, that is my center of mass, or that's the balance point of my rocket. And so if if I put my RCS there, it won't turn if I'm trying to use it to slide to the right or left, because it's completely balanced. Adding in a launch stage here, just to speed up the whole building process, and so we wouldn't be here for hours. I've already cut it down from 3.5 hours of footage to 36 minutes, so I'm quite happy with that, but at a risk of having to shorten up everything, so I'm just making everything streamlined. You actually see me design the rocket in this video, so tell me if you like this layout or if you really don't care, because I thought I might add it in just to see if people would like to see me actually building. I'll stop. Yeah. So we're going in now, and the purple ring there, way further out than all of my orbits, is Minmus. It is 4.5 times further away than the moon, and is about half the size. So here we are, taking off. Massive rocket. It's about the same size as it's almost exactly the same size actually as our moon lander. But this, yeah. So we're coming up now, 3 kilometers, making good speed, and I forgot to do asparagus staging on this one, and so if you look at all the fuel lines, I don't have any, sorry, and so all the fuel's draining at the same rate, which is less efficient, but we're docking with the station anyway, and so it doesn't make much of a difference if I add them or not. There's the massive mountain out there on the horizon, and we have Bob Kerman, Neilfred Kerman, and Enjoyyyy Kerman, I think. I tried to memorize the names of these 3 guys, but I may have them wrong. We are making good time, 30 kilometers, 10 times higher up than the last time, and shutting down the engines and coasting, because we have a apoapse of, it's over 70 kilometers, and as I mentioned in the last video, that is a stable altitude. Nearly out of fuel, but we wouldn't want to waste anything, and so it takes ages to turn this massive thing, because unlike last time, while I had just one fuel. While I just had one stack, this has 7 stacks, like the full launch stage. And here we are, nearly out of fuel, where I can finally eject it, get it out of the way. And there we are. Just using the last bits of fuel here. So I eject them all, and kick off in the landing stage. Now, I'm only a quarter of the altitude of the way. I'm only a quarter of the way to my actual station, and so I'm gonna have to do quite a bit of a burn. Just testing the systems now, but I'm gonna have to do quite a burn. I can't talk today. Of 300 more kilometers. See, I'm only 153 kilometers up, so I'm only 25% of the way there. So you can see this yellow ring here is the station. It is CRKSS Kerbin station, if you're wondering the name. And we're just going to bring it up so that we catch up with this. If you see the red tabs are telling me where both the spacecraft will be when the paths intersect. And you want that to be as close as possible. I get mine fairly close, or close enough to work with. And just getting this 4 times, because it takes a little while, because I got my timing wrong. So you can see I'm coming up to another node here, just burning them closer together. And there we are. Bring it close enough so that, well, by the time I complete one more orbit, the station and I will be fairly close. You can see the yellow name down there in the, well, it was on the left of the screen, and that's telling me there that I'm clicking on. Right, well, I've skipped a bit because that was about 15 minutes of finding it. Sorry, God, I can't remember anything. And this is the station. So I'm coming in to dock so that I can refuel and head on to Minmus. Just getting everything lined up here. As you can see, I'm 408 kilometers now instead of 153, so we're quite a ways up now, but still only 4% of the way to the distance of the moon, and 1% of the way to the distance of Minmus. So, while this is quite high up, I'm only 1/100th of the distance to the destination. Which is why we probably should be refueling. And that's why I do so. Just coming in. I don't want to break any of my solar panels here, and I'm taking ages, and God. So yeah, coming in now, just getting everything lined up with the docking ports, and magnets will pull us together, and the ship will dock. No? I've got to back up a bit, I missed then. We are coming in, and dock. Does not want to dock with me. His loss. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, I think someone may have stolen the magnets. Oh, and there we go. Coming in, lining it up, and we have dock. Here we are on the station, and we're just going to use it to transfer the fuel into the landing stage out of the massive tank here. So here we are, filling up. Just may as well fill everything up, I thought. So we'll fill up all the RCS, and then we'll be on our way. The station holds 48 people. It's currently under renovation, and you'll see some upgrades in the next video when we head to our next secret destination. So, with no need to be docked anymore, we, well, undock and leave the station behind. turn all the lights off to conserve power. And you can see the orbits are perfectly matched, and that's what you need to do when you are docking. So you'll see, because that's when we're so close together that our orbits are identical. I'll actually post a video on how to dock for any of you who are wondering how, or need help with learning how to dock. Right, so we are just drifting out of the way so the engines don't damage our station, because that would be a very expensive and time-consuming mistake to fix. Because I am not quick saving in this series, so I'm basically in hardcore mode. If something dies, then there's no fixing it, basically. Right. So we're just adjusting the inclination so that when our orbits match with Minmus, they'll be on the same plane and we won't miss it vertically. You see the white tabs, they're like those red tabs, but it's showing encounters. And when those get close enough together, you get an encounter. You see now, encounter, which means you'll enter the sphere of influence of the body that you have an encounter with, and that means you can get to orbit. And ultimately land. So you're setting up another node. Nodes are very, very useful if you haven't figured that out yet. And if you don't know how to use them, I don't really see a reason to upload a video, but I suggest that you learn how to use them, because they are one of the most useful things in the game. And they really help with your orbital mechanics. So now drifting out to... We're way out past the moon now. Coming out at 28 million instead of 11 million. Oh, sorry, 28 million now. And that blue sphere there is Minmus. Just getting into orbit now, as I rack my brain for any remembrance of what was going on now. Just getting into orbit, slowing ourselves down. The good thing about Minmus is it's so small that it's really easy to adjust your orbits. And if you look, I'm going under 200 meters per second in an orbit, which is a lot different than being around the moon. It's just a matter of gravity and size. Once again, testing the landing gear, just making sure all the systems are working, and we line ourselves up for descent. You see now, getting ourselves ready, and that is right. Kerbin, the Moon, and Minmus here, all in one piece. We're that far out now that Kerbin is the big one on the left. It looks tiny in comparison to Minmus. And the moon is basically just a speck at this distance. Oh, I have a bit of fun here. And I actually get a Kerbal out, and he messes with the other crew after you're just doing all the systems checks, and he's going to do a bit of a... Yeah, I do a bit of prank on the other crew. So while they slept, Bob here got out of the window. Love to screenshot there. So Bob's messing with the crew, and he stands outside, and he's bangs on the window basically. There he is, floating away in deep space. Good for you, Bob. Yeah, 75 meters per second orbit now, so we're going quite slow. But yeah, it's just that Minmus is so small that you hardly need any effort to get into an orbit or land. And so it makes it all the easier for me. Getting ready for fourth node now. It's going to be the descent burn. Or the... Yeah, it's going to be... I don't know the name for it, but we're going to get out of the orbit and we're going to hit the ground eventually, so it's going to be... Here. Landing insertion burn. As our periaps gets lower and lower, so that we can actually have a look at where we're going to land. We want to aim for those darker blue areas because they are at sea level and they are perfectly flat. So here we are, actually making the descent now. Making it in at 5,000 meters. Coming down quite quickly. But that's alright, because a little bit of a burn in the tiny gravity will slow us right down. I'm going so slowly I actually have to time warp, because it's taking ages to get down. We are just controlling the descent, making sure we're going nice and vertically. And we aimed very well, because we're landing in one of the seas. Minmus is supposedly composed of salt. It looks like ice, but it's supposedly composed of salt, because, according to physicists, it should be too warm to be made of ice. And so we may just be landing on a massive salt bed, which would be cool in the future if you could actually trade it for money in a budget. I'm wondering if that might be added in. There might be a mod for that, you never know. So coming down, coming down. Nice slow landing, good control. It's always fun to kind of show off your landing skills when it's really easy. Here we are, just coming down. Nice descent. This is all in real time, so this is what I saw coming down on the landing. And so that's a lovely landing there. A little bit of a bounce, but we're alright. Success. Here I am. Because it took so long in the last video, I actually decided to speed up the whole process of getting them out and whatnot. Just for your sanity. Checking all the solar panels working, closing the one that's blocked, because it might just get broken. It's not doing anything, so may as well close it. Bob Kerman on the ladder. Coming down. Touchdown. Mission success. But I wouldn't say he's quite happy yet, and I think maybe we should get a car there. I don't know, just saying. But first, plant a flag, you know. Whole thing up there. Name it. Mare Saltes, maybe. Again, I can't read this. Yeah, I think yeah, Mare Saltes is the landing site name. Because, as I said, it's supposedly made of salt. So that means salt sea in Latin. Because it's always good to name your flags in Latin. And just writing a good description, telling about the bravery and whatnot of Bob Kerman, Nilfred and Enjoyyyy, if I can remember their names. Everyone's very happy. I think because it's Bob's first time to Minmus. It's not Nilfred's or Enjoyyy's. They've been here before. But it's Bob's first time, so he gets out first, you know. And anyway, he was anyway. Because he's the best. Good bit of moonwalking there. Yeah. And we line them up on the surface to get a good picture going. Because no mission's complete without a picture. Again, the lander looking massive here, and just gonna get a good perspective so that we can actually get a good screenshot. There we go. It's a nice one. Right. But yeah, I don't think Bob's quite happy with just having to walk around on the surface, so we're gonna do something here. Get the other two in. But Bob calls Mission Control and says, "Hey, where's the car?" And so Mission Control, you'll see. we basically we get a car and we put it on Minmus. You can see we're at sea level there, at 0 meters above the ground. And you can see, right, and just going to launch now, and we will get the car express. We don't dock with this station, because I've got the asparagus staging working on this lifting body, and so we don't need to dock with the station to refuel. So everything working as it should on this one. And we skip a bit, or should I say an hour, until we are coming around on Minmus. So we're just going, if you can see there, or the white triangle is actually the landing site, so we really want to land, ideally, really close to that, so that I don't have to drive miles across the surface. Here we are. See, that lifting body that we used on the Moonlander is in fact so efficient that I'm using it on Minmus. See, it's an amazing body, and asparagus staging is the future of KSP. So here we are, coming down. Lights on because it's night time. We've still got about a quarter tank of fuel in the lifting body, and so we may as well use that to get down. Coming down on 4 kilometers above sea level. But it's really slow to turn, and so I decide just to jettison it because you can't land on it, and it's just too risky to try and maneuver a landing on a lifting body stage, as you may well imagine. And so we're going to jettison it here in a minute. Just trying to get a good view here in the night time because there's just you have no idea what's going on below you. But the good thing is, since we're landing on the mare, that you know exactly how high up you are because sea level is actually the correct reading. So back down at one time, at real time, and still using that lifting body. Surprise! I thought I'd dropped it by now. Apparently not. You can see how slowly it turns though, we just can't land on it. There we are. And I've got a bit of slow motion footage here showing an explosion and how engines work in KSP, which is quite cool. Now, you can see that the plume of the engine then. There's like a jet, and then the massive explosion as the bottom stage is obliterated by the force of the jets. Good bit of fireworks for the crew. And here we are, finally on the ground. Yeah, finally touched down. Now, I really don't want to be doing any maneuvers in the dark, and so I'm just going to time warp until day, getting a good time lapse here of this night sky. You can see around 10 kilometers away is the crew land site, and that's where we need to drive. So here we are, jettisoning. Is that a word? Yeah, jettisoning. And I actually make a massive mistake, but it turns out in the end it's fine. By trying to get the landing stage out of the way here, I just, I keep hitting it. But turns out I actually did some good, because I actually gave it just enough spin so that it would not flip upside down. Which should be avoided if it can be. For obvious reasons. So here we are, on the surface. In a bit of a buggy here. So we're just gonna get everything ready, and we're gonna drive. Now this is in 2 times, because you can see it looks slow now. There was this rover is painstakingly slow to drive. And so I've given you a bit of mercy here by speeding everything up and skipping loads. Which is, you know, you're welcome. It's because I'm awesome. Not really. Finally coming in, getting some speed, just drifting all around because even if it is salt, it's slick. So just slowly creeping up on the crew. Nice shadow though, silhouette of the rover. Coming in at 28 minutes, so we've got 8 minutes left of the video. Nearly there. Run out of things to say. And memory. So again, this actually is quite large. It's a weird thing, the size, because you actually see the people, and now the rover looks huge. And it's actually quite a small rover, to be honest. It's a mid-size, really. But here we are, coming up the ladder. Just get everyone in, and we'll go for a drive to the old landing site, about 10k away. Yep, here we are, one of the other 2 showing off their jetpacking skills. So the 3rd one has to go at it. Alright, just getting everyone in the car now. And good. We don't need the lights on, so turn off the brakes, do a bit of a power skid, and off we go. Just showing the crew being able to drive across the surface, which is quite good. Until I do a fist warp, and then they just careen out of control. Here we are. I'm just trying to gain some control over the lander at all. Yeah. See where we're going. But, yeah, just having a look around, showing the speed of the rover here. It's quite fast. It's only a quarter of the speed, but if you actually get it going quite fast, you can cover distances with it. See the mountains approaching. And then we go for a bit of a return trip in a minute here. Yep, this is us back. And this is at 4 times speed. It's because getting them in is honestly the most boring process, I think, in the game. Just getting them in and out of things. And so I sped it up for you, because I really don't want people going insane. Yep, that's last one out. Grab the ladder. And yeah, here we are. Good old complete landing. Mission 2 out of 2 complete. And so we do just stay a whole day on there, just to say that they did. Open up all the solar panels. Activate the engine, and we're off. So, they wave goodbye fondly to Minmus, and they begin the return trip back to Kerbin, where they belong. here they are, going up. And it's even easier than the moon to get, just because it's so much lighter. It's got so much less mass and gravity that you need about a quarter of the delta V to get into an orbit and escape. And that's what we're doing now. I tried doing it all in a cockpit view, but I'm not quite sure what the delta V I needed was, and so I keep looking at the map view. That would be a cool challenge, though. Trying to do a complete, like, moon mission entirely in the cockpit view. Coasting up to Apple because we don't have any atmosphere that will prevent us from doing this. And we can go straight in for the return burn once we reach our periaps. Because that, I mean, once you're at your periaps, it takes less delta V to increase your orbit than it does your apoaps because you have a higher starting velocity. And there's a landing site once again that we're flying over. We are just getting our orientation right. And we're off. So goodbye Minmus, and hello again Kerbin. So as you can see, we're going to be coming in quite quickly as the orbit, the higher the apoaps the orbit and the lower the periaps, the quicker you're going to be going at your periaps. And so we're going to get some interesting re-entry effects now. Close all these. But I decided to open them back up because I want to see what would happen at these speeds in the atmosphere. So we get some cool re-entry effects with these. You can actually see the South Pole. The white spot on the planet there is actually the South Pole. We're coming in at a really, we're coming in at a really strange inclination at around 45 degrees off equator. So we are coming in head first this time at some incredible speeds through the atmosphere, going so fast that it sets the air on fire around us and causes a glow. As we slow down, the effects begin to mitigate, and realizing they no longer need that bottom stage, they get rid of it. So you can see it's actually a really, really shallow, I cannot speak today, a really shallow dive, if you will. Trajectory, yes, that's the word. Really shallow trajectory. And it's quite a high one at 32 kilometers. And you can tell it's very shallow because normally going down, we would be glued to our retrograde without our SAS on. But on this one, we're nearly weightless still. We're still just about weightless, and so we are spinning around. And so we are kind of circling the retrograde. Excuse me. See, because we actually went back up again, on the second way down we get more re-entry effects to stave off more of the energy. Just because it's that shallow that we actually have 2 dives. A considerably smaller one, granted, because you know, the first dive certainly took away most of the energy. It's just finally deploying the parachutes. Coming down at 6k, 5 kilometers, 3, 2, and real time. Going down as we get some deployment of parachutism. Very graceful performance. Shallow dive, but that can be improved upon in the next episode. And 2 out of 2 missions, the There we go. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.